in the Imperial Corps know well that our universities are active participants in the scholasticide and genocide of the Palestinian people. Universities are an essential source of intellectual capital and specialized labor forces for the U.S. empire that is hell-bent on spending our tax money on weapons of war, imperialist plunder, and genocide, and not on our own community. With Trump and his gang of MAGA fascists in power, the integrity of our education is also under attack. Ethnic studies, a cluster of disciplines that emerged out of the revolutionary fervor of the 1960s and 70s, have been under the subject of vitriolic administrative and public attacks. We look to the valiant black and brown high schoolers who launched the Forest Grove blowouts. We know that ethnic studies in Oregon is the consequence of student activism, and we can only defend these pro-people disciplines through student activism. We must also wage the mass student struggle necessary to defend our right to teach about Palestine and pro-people's movements in the Philippines, Latin America, and Africa. Our struggle is simple: to dismantle the university as an instrument of war and to rebuild it as an instrument for all people's liberation movements.
As students, we must strive to understand that the student struggles that we experience, be it budget cuts, rising tuition, or the lack of culturally relevant education that accurately reflects our people's histories. We must understand them and understand that these problems are the product of the lack of spending from our government on social services, on our education, and instead it's increased spending towards militarization. Rather than funding for our classes or cultural centers, we see funding for war and occupation. As students, we must link and raise our issues at the university and campuses and go beyond the four corners of our classrooms. We must connect our struggles to those taken up by workers, migrants, women, and all youth in our own city, state, home countries, and the rest of the world. The reality is, what we learn in the classroom is meaningless if it doesn't dismantle and change the way the world works. Education is linked to big businesses and capitalist desire to seek profit and war, which is the very reason migrant students are here in the belly of the beast in the first place. To achieve a pro-people, culturally relevant, and scientific education, we must be prepared to struggle to address not only student issues, but the whole problems of our peoples and society. We must not learn only in the classroom, nor only as individuals, but learn from the working class, migrants, community, and our communities. We must learn together, learn from our communities, and see our struggles as students connected to those of the masses. As a famous former Filipino youth activist once said, "Only in struggle can the best of the youth emerge."
Now is the time for us and you to act. Orgs such as MEChA PSU, Super, and Kaibigan are just a few examples of organizations at PSU that are fighting to improve students' lives, protect our rights, and spread knowledge about the cruel and racist system that we live in. Movement campaigns like the PSU Cut Ties with Boeing campaign and Rise for Rights are mobilizing for action to keep and make our school a genuine place of cultural learning and anti-militarism, to cut ties with genocidal warmongers like Boeing and Intel. There are ways to start an org at your own schools too. Talk to other students at the rally. Approach students in your classes. Post flyers, make group chats, follow local events on campus that are part of larger movements at the university. Many students call this place home, and yet many do not feel welcome here, and are shown by our administrations, by our government, that they are not. But there is always time to start something, join something. Many people do not feel empowered until they feel seen. You are in more company and more community than you realize. As students, we are a core and vital part of a whole of the university. But that whole is completed by staff and faculty, many of whom have struggled and fought alongside us, not admin and board members. As a collective, we are strong and we can organize to make our voices heard. And there are many who will support us in that fight. Free Palestine, free the Philippines. From Palestine to the Philippines!
Stop the U.S. war machine!
From Palestine to the Philippines!
Stop the U.S. war machine!
More money for education, not for war and occupation. Education, not for war and occupation. Thank you.